Kia ora, good evening, and welcome back after a very long hiatus to a new episode of Critics in Cars Getting Home. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Doug.
And this time we're actually already at home.
Yeah, we've got a new car. We do not have a new car mount, so we're just working out the
logistics.
Yes, while we talk about our most recent screening.
So what was tonight, Doug?
Well, it was called Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, which is actually not truth in advertising because it only feels like forever. And in fact, it's 161 minutes.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Only 22 minutes longer than 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Is it longer than 2001?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Wakanda does go on forever. It's the follow-up to Black Panther. Long awaited, I would say. Obviously, in the meantime, we lost Chadwick Boseman, who was the OG Black Panther. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say that this film absolutely acknowledges head-on the fact that Black Panther himself died, and that they're all in recovery from that. And it's actually woven, I think, quite nicely into, at least it's acknowledged. It's not a Paul Walker hologram.
There's no wacky face replacement or anything. And there is a really nice tribute in the, for fans, the Marvel logo at the beginning, you'll know, reflects all the characters from the film and films and their thing. And this one they dedicate exclusively to footage of Boseman from Black Panther and the Avengers movies.
And they keep it really low-key as well. Yeah. They keep it, normally there's the kind of building up excitement. They don't bother with any of that. They just, they keep it really lo-fi and quite moving.
After what's actually a pretty high-intensity sort of
intro
funeral thing, and that were the first and last emotions I had in the film.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a funny thing. Yeah. We haven't talked about it at all, as is our wont. We have not pre-discussed how we feel, but it's notable that it's probably the quietest car ride home we've ever had, and not just because we're now driving a hybrid.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just not anything.
Yeah, so the last Marvel movie we saw, which we didn't talk about, was Thor: Love and Thunder, and that was in general a much worse movie
because it tried so much harder to do things that it didn't, in our opinion, achieve, right?
Yeah, like make it look like two actors were in the same room when it was filmed.
Sure.
But
or
also
be funny.
Yeah, or can maintain a consistent tone.
That's right.
But on the bright side, it wasn't boring. And
yeah.
I feel like this was paced like Game of Thrones or something like that.
Right.
But there's just, instead of just being propulsive, there's just a lot of character beats and
there's a lot of talking. Like, it's quite serious. It certainly isn't fight scene, although I found the fight scenes, I was unmoved by them.
They certainly weren't as memorable as the fight scenes in the first Black Panther film. I think there's definitely a bit of seen there, been there, seen that.
Yes.
We've ticked those boxes. And maybe I don't think either of us were huge fans of the first one. I think you in particular are a bit down on it.
Yeah, I think it was good, but I remember at the time feeling like it didn't do as well as it should for the groundbreakingness that it was meant to be doing. Yeah. This one it feels much surer in its footing, and I will just say, and in terms of representation, which of course is really what Black Panther was groundbreaking for originally, this is not just all black cast, which is marvellous, apart from Martin Freeman and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but heavily female as well. Like, totally passes any Bechdel test you can imagine.
Sure, and they've set up a new character, Ironheart, who's the teenage girl with this Iron Man surrogate who will be getting her own Disney Plus series, I learned on the way home.
Oh, right.
And also, it's not entirely African-American because you have a whole Latin American element brought in by the introduction of the Submariner.
And I thought that's very interesting. Is he an actual person?
So Namor the Submariner, he's not referred to as the Submariner in this film, is canonically from the comics since 1939 to present day.
Good Lord.
From Atlantis.
And right. They call him Fish Dude. He's basically he's an underwater kind of.
They give him a name in indigenous South American roots that
Mexican, indigenous Mexican.
Latin American of some kind. I can remember.
They're in Mexico, and also in one of the scenes, it's not a spoiler. In one of the scenes when we go to the underwater land, which actually I think is one of the nicer moments in it, one of the more affecting moments. They're playing a particular type of game that many years ago, when Doug and I went to Mexico for our brother and sister-in-law's wedding, we went to Chichen Itza, which is like...
is it Aztec?
Well, I don't...
That's the thing I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember if it's Aztec or Inca, but it's... Yeah, exactly. It's got the pyramids and whatnot, and the cenote, the sinkholes, and there are people swimming in sinkholes in this, and they're playing the same game that we've seen the ruins of at Chichen Itza. So that was kind of neat. I mean, that's pretty niche, but I mean, that was kind of...
Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of level of pleasures. There's... Danaya Gurira, who's returns from the first film, who, again, I think is the strongest character, and so they figure out a way to take her out of it for like an hour for no real good reason.
I think Lupita Nyong'o is wonderful.
She again, and they don't have her show up for about an hour and 15
but
minutes.
But she's great. Like, I think she's one of the greatest things in it. I didn't like Angela Bassett. Don't tell her I didn't like Angela Bassett. I thought she was over earnest. Maybe she was over earnest last time, but she was just a mum last time. She wasn't a grieving mum. But
I just think that it's a film with so many boxes to tick. It's like we have to have all these character relationships. We have to like give weight to the passing of Chadwick Boseman and how that ripples out through all these characters, and we have to resolve all these other character relationships that if you haven't watched Black Panther 6 times, you won't remember the details of. We have to give Martin Freeman something to do for some damn reason.
Exactly.
And, you know, because he was in the first one and because...
He's not even particularly great. He's not particularly great at playing American. He's not even... I mean, to be fair,
he's an expert on films with too many endings, so maybe that's why.
That's true. But also, to be fair, there's nothing written in for him. So Ryan Coogler comes back as the director of Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. He's written the story as well. I'm not enamored of his storytelling ability.
Well, I don't really know with these Marvel films how much it is just by committee. It's like, you've got to do this, but you also have to you have to introduce Ironheart, who's this kid inventor who's going to go off and have her own Disney Plus series. So you got to do that. And, you know, maybe they're setting up another movie for Namor and
it just felt
his people to
lackluster.
appear in.
Am I right? Like, it didn't, I mean, it was, I wouldn't even say it was fine. I wouldn't actually necessarily recommend it, but it wasn't bad. The costuming's beautiful. Some of the singing and the songs are beautiful.
There's some nice music cues, you know.
But you don't go to the movies just to look at Angela Bassett's incredible costumes and
maybe some nice underwater photography.
Yeah, I mean, some of the CGI.
I did think the CGI was actually better than the first film. The first film looked unfinished.
See, I saw it. You see, and I don't consider myself to have an eye for good or bad CGI, to be honest. But there were a lot of moments when I was like, that looks like a video game to me. You know. Mainly when people are like leaping from hither and yon or diving into water or whatnot, and I'm suddenly seeing the computer-generated character.
Right. I think they tried to do some stuff with the underwater characters to make their physicality not quite normal, but it kind of winds up playing. We saw the Avatar 2 trailer.
Oh, it's funny. It reminded me of Avatar. Did it remind you of Avatar? Having the blue underwater people wasn't a flattering comparison when you see how James Cameron has photographed that film, even though I'm not super excited about that film. I'm not remotely excited about Avatar at all, but they definitely did evoke Avatar. So there's some nice things in Wakanda Forever, but I don't know that people are going to be thrilled by it. Everyone's going to go because...
Yeah, Stockholm Syndrome, but...
Well, I mean, no, they'll go because they have high expectations, because they love the last one. This has been a long time coming. How are they going to deal with Chadwick Boseman, etc., you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I guess I should say, if representation is something that resonates to you, then this may work on a lot of levels that the other film doesn't. But, you know, there's a lot about grief and stuff in there, and as somebody who's... that stuff is resonant with.
Well, the funny thing is, I didn't feel... I've had to experience quite a lot of grief lately, and I didn't feel any of it.
No, it just... Again, it's the...
Maybe I'm cold-hearted.
Well, there's that.
Okay.
But at least you're not Ironheart. Coming soon to Disney Plus. Need to be familiar with it? Watch Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
So
this is your official Disney. You're committed to intellectual property until the afterlife. Installment number 47.
Oh wow. So that is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever from us, and if we sound a little downbeat, it's partly because we're parked for safety, and partly because that's how we felt in the movie and coming out of the movie. We'll be back pretty soon with, I can't remember what we're going to see again together, but anyway.
It may be a little bit. We've got some conflicting schedules, but it won't be as long between drinks as the last time. So take care.